Hey, welcome back to the Unit 3 lessons. Today we're going to start on page 35 of our notebook, and we are going to continue on with the special types of angles. Okay, so here on pages 33 and 34, we talked about angles and angle relationships. Okay, these are angle relationships, kind of what they add up to. And on page 35 here, we're going to talk about some more relationships with these angles. So on page 35, we will title that parallel lines and transversal. Okay, so as you guessed it, we will have parallel lines. So that line, and let's say this line. And I need to show that those lines are parallel. I'll put a little triangle here on them. Okay, and then I need a transversal. It doesn't matter which direction your transversal goes. I just chose that one. So let's put some numbers here. And again, the order doesn't matter, so we'll just use the numbers 1 through 8 at random. So let's say 2, 1, 5, 7, 8, 3, 4, and 6. Okay. All right, so I have a parallel lines here crossed by transversal. I still have all the consecutive interior, consecutive exterior, corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, vertical. I still have all the same angle pairs as we did on page 33 when they weren't parallel, but some of the relationships change a little bit. So if parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, then the following rules will apply. All right, so let's say rule number 1. I need a blue marker. And green. That's the colors we were missing. Okay, so number 1, corresponding angles are congruent, and there's our symbol for congruent. So that would be like angle, so example, angle 2 would be congruent to angle 2 up here would be corresponding to angle 3, so those would be congruent. Only if you have those parallel lines. Number 2, alternate interior or exterior angles are congruent as well. So that would be like angle, so let's do alternate interior. So angle 8 and 6, so angle 8 congruent to angle 6. And then exterior would be like angle 2 congruent to angle 7. Okay, so your alternate interior and alternate exterior angles are congruent. And the last one we're going to look at are the consecutive VE, interior or exterior angles are, okay, you'd think congruent, but it's not congruent. They are actually supplementary. Which means they sum to 180. Okay, so for instance, we have consecutive interior exterior angles. Let's just look at the interior. So the measure of angle 8 plus the measure of angle 3 will equal 180. Okay, and then we can do consecutive exterior. So the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 7 equals 180 also. Again, these only work if the lines are parallel. Okay, if they're not parallel, then these things don't work out. All right, we're going to do some examples here. Okay, and I'm going to do the examples in pen, and we're only going to do 2 of them. So I'll split that in half. All right, example number 1. Zoom in here and we can get a little closer look. So example 1, let's say I have this line, and those lines are parallel, and we're crossed by another line, that transversal. Okay, it says this one here will be 115 degrees, this angle. And this angle right here is x plus 5 degrees. Okay, and I need to figure out what x is. Find the value of x. All right, so looking through here, I do not have a relationship between these two angles. One is on the inside, one is on the outside. They are on opposite sides, but one's on the inside, one's on the outside. But I do know, if we look at this angle right here, okay, let's call this angle angle 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, angle 4. It doesn't matter what you call it. So I know that the measure of angle 4 equals 115 degrees. And the reason I know that is because this angle and this angle are vertical angles. And so I'd put that vertical angles. Okay, this is starting to get into some of those informal proofs. We just proved that angle 4 and this angle were the exact same because they're vertical angles. Okay, and I know these are 2 interior angles on the same side. So I know if I have parallel lines, but crossed by transversal, and I have consecutive interior angles, they will sum to 180. So I know that if I take x plus 5 and I add that angle to 115, which was angle 4, I will get 180 degrees. And the reason I can do that is because, and we can abbreviate some of this, consecutive interior angles. Okay, those 2 are consecutive interior. Okay, and then I'm just going to solve this out. We'll say x plus 120, because we add those 2, equals 180. If I subtract 120 from both sides, x equals 60. Okay, so X is 60. That does not mean that this is 60 degrees. This, in fact, is 65 degrees because it's X plus 5. All right, let's look at another one. So let's say I have this here. And I'll have a couple segments here and here that are parallel. Yes, this works with segments and lines and rays. Lines are parts of lines. Okay, and this one is 120 degrees. And we're going to give all these numbers: 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. And the question is, what other angles are 120 degrees and why? Okay, so 120 degrees is right here. We do have parallel lines cut by a transversal, so I know that corresponding angles are congruent. So this angle is 120. If I go to another angle in the same location, that is angle 3. So I know angle 3. So I know that the measure of angle 3 is 120 because they are corresponding. They're corresponding angles. Okay. Now if I go back to 120, okay, I know that alternate interior and exterior angles are congruent. Okay, well, 120 is on the outside, so we can go 120 to alternate exterior 8. So the measure of angle 8 equals 120 because they are alternate exterior angles. Okay, so those two are congruent. And the last one actually isn't up here on this page. It was actually on a previous page, and it would be angle 6. So the measure of angle 6 equals 120 degrees because 120 and 6 are vertical angles. And that was back here on page 33 at the very bottom. Okay. So don't forget about the vertical angles. Okay, that ends it for parallel lines and transversals. And that will cover just about everything we have for the C.1 quiz. So you'll have some practice here, and then we will work on that quiz. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.